either of you. I want to know the inner workings of how trades, specifically in the first round, come about. Are those conversations where you're already talking to other teams now and you have trades in place if a player is there, or is it really just frantic? It all comes together during the first round.
I would say both, really. I mean, we've made calls, this week you make a lot of calls. And then, next week, the more serious calls, hey, if this player's here, we want to move up or what have you. So, I've talked to most every GM in the NFL, kind of set the table, set the plan. Hey, if your player's here, when you move up, what's the range? And so you start talking parameters. I would say it gets more serious next week, and then really draft day. Sometimes maybe you haven't heard from a team, and someone's just they really want to come up and they're aggressive. Their players there, and so I would say this week, next, and then draft day, all three.
I think the other thing, I mean, meaning when you talk to people this time of the process, everyone's great. I asked George this question the other day. Let's look up there and discuss these GMs and head coaches. And there are some teams that are more risk averse, maybe, or maybe a little bit more conventional. That would be harder division, a significant trade, maybe just historically, and others that are much more that kind of factors into it, at least. And oftentimes, there's always a new group in our league, right? There's a handful of new GM, new head coaches, and so how do you look at them, and so there's certain ones where right away that, hey, you can do business without either having to feel like they're getting a win. And I think that's important.
Just to follow up, like last year, you always want an exit plan. If your players isn't there or players aren't there, and we had probably every time we took a player in the draft, we had an exit plan if our player wasn't there. And so those talks, a week before, the week of, obviously they help, draft day because you've had those communications.